Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is JGOD. In today's video, we'll be breaking down some gameplay from one of the top players on PC, mouse and keyboard combination, and probably one of the top players in the game. Somebody's name that has been brought up for multiple of my videos where I look at some top tier player gameplay and kind of break down what they're doing live and in the moment. And that is TheGamingDefinition. If you guys have never heard of him, I would definitely recommend going and checking him out, especially once you've watched this video. I will remind you at the end to go ahead and check him out as well, but all his links will be in the description. That's his YouTube, his Twitter, as well as his Twitch. So with this type of gameplay, what you'll notice is that this is on keyboard and mouse with a PC playing the game. And what happens as a result of that, we're going to have a wider field of view, faster frame rate, so the game's going to play completely different when they're actually in their perspective. And sometimes that even causes the players to move through space faster, or at least feel like they're moving faster. So if you've never watched something on PC, it's going to look like he's actually moving through the space a little bit faster, versus if you actually jump from PC to console, it looks like everyone's moving around slow because of field of view. But regardless of that, it's going to look a lot like a Hisense player, similar to what we saw in Team Memory's gameplay, where they're playing on a Hisense and very accurate, but instead of a controller, we'll be using a mouse and keyboard. So as he's doing this on an opening rush, this is a good opening rush. This is what you'd like to see. You rush, try and jump into this side of the C building. That kind of makes it so you can kill some people. They should be running in, flooding into the building, and you should have some good cover from snipers because you're moving through the building. So a very smart play here. You just got to play the doorways, pre-aim. You can see he's just waiting on the timing for people to get through these doors, listening for audio cues. There's a lot of different variables, and he's incredibly accurate. Snaps onto the target, moves, and is able to snap back onto the next target because he's been playing keyboard and mouse for a very long time, and he's been playing multiple CODs. So sometimes he'll be streaming other CODs and he'll be dropping nukes on pretty much any of them. You can actually call a nuke in or just going on longer streaks. It really just depends. Right here, he's able to take that guy out. Bison is a pretty good weapon. He's using the 64 ammo capacity there. So what you're looking at right now is he's pretty much just patrolling this building, coming through, and just kind of cleaning it up. This is almost the ideal setup that we've talked about in some of my other ground war videos. You kind of want all your objectives connected, and you don't want your team jumping on B. So right here, there is zero interest in grabbing B. Sometimes people think, oh, well, he's not playing the objective. He's not jumping on the objective. One, he probably doesn't really care about the objective because most people going for kills and nukes do not care about the objective. But besides that, this is the best scenario to actually get kills and still win the game, because if everyone's spawning on B, you should be able to run into a ton of people. Right here, he's already on a 14 streak, just kind of patrolling this building, going back and forth, paying attention, see if he can spot anyone. He did see that guy slip through. He's moving on to the next spot, halfway to the nuke, and then just continues to peek. A lot of times also, since there's a lot going on in ground war, you can get some easy free kills. The guy wasn't expecting him to jump up, jump around, and he's able to hit that guy through the railing. He jumps down. This one, he's actually just moving based off a lot of just instincts. Jumping through, he picked up the other dude's weapon and then goes ahead and clears him out. He almost gets killed here because he's not able to shoot through this railing, and it's a combination of just the way the rails work. They kind of do block and mix up the hitboxes, so you just got to kind of deal with that. Takes this guy out. This is probably a very risky spot right here because there is a sniper. He kind of gets down, makes sure he's back to full health with the stim shot. And one thing you'll see right here is even though he has a ton of ammo, he almost has like 400 rounds or over 400 rounds now because of the stopping power. When he runs up through the building, he still grabs additional ammo, and that's the habit that typically good players have. Right now, what you're looking at is the spawns are getting jacked up. A can get grabbed, but then that'll start to influence a lot of other things. And this is what he ends up saying in the video, which I completely agree with. And that is your teammates cap whoring. And that is them just going above and beyond to do everything they can to capture every individual objective, even though things could just be left as is. In this particular scenario, we already had the right objectives. We had E, D, and C. He's able to get a lot of kills from people trying to run through B. The enemy team isn't aggressively pushing for D, E, or taking over that middle section of C. So we're in a perfect scenario. Why are people running over to A, capturing that? And then that kind of thins out your team, and sometimes we'll end up flipping the spawns and forcing the enemies to do things that they weren't already doing. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. He's pre-aiming a lot, and you'll see that with good players. They tend to pre-aim really quick, ADS, really quick, back and forth, and they're always kind of just pre-aimed. Luckily on keyboard and mouse, you got that sensitivity so you can kind of already be pre-aimed and it doesn't really matter. It's not like you have a slower aim down sight that you typically are going to have when you're aiming down sight on console. That's just how it is. So comes through, he's shooting this guy through, he's on a 26, and here's where the match really starts to go a little bit wild. You can see the team, they didn't end up capturing A, they are capturing B, and then they decide to jump back on A, and then it looks like the enemies are starting to retake E. And this is kind of where it could have been a little bit better, but things get a little bit out of whack where you end up feeling like you're in a running simulator. So if you ever play Ground War and you're in a running simulator, more than likely it's because you're capping the wrong objectives or your team is capturing the wrong objectives. There's no reason for them to have capped B, and because of the whole incident that happened with A, that kind of forced people to go towards E, and that's why you're getting this split spawn. At this point, he's still playing aggressive because it's not like this is his first ever nuke. He gets nukes on a regular basis. He's able to track that guy in the vehicle, take him out, and that's with an SMG from pretty good distance. And he's basically egoing challenge, YOLOing it, right? He said, oh, if I die, no big deal. Not a big deal, right? So he takes this next guy out. There is another one he tracks through here on the left. He missed it. He ended up hitting that guy once, but he tracks this guy, takes him out, and has already gotten the nuke. So at this point, we know we're in a good spot because he's already done everything he needed to do. He pushed up, and now he could just play however he wants. And another thing I didn't point out is he's running specialist. If you see someone running specialist, odds are they're going for the nuke, because if you were only going for kills and trying to go for 100+ gameplay or something like that within Ground War, you would be going for VTOL, chopper gunner, gunship, and you would just cycle through, die, get your 12 kills, die, get your 12 kills, die, and repeat that process so you can rack up those kills. But obviously in this particular case, he's 100% going for that nuke every single time he joins a lobby. So he's coming up to the building, and again, the lobby is kind of scuffed because you can see that all the objectives are captured or A, and the match end up cruising by pretty quickly because when you have 4 of the objectives, it generally allows you to get so many points at once that the time flies pretty quickly. A lot of this ends up just being spawn in, trying to look for people, spawn in, trying to look for people, end up getting killed by somebody random who's not actually moving. He ended up getting destroyed by an Odin a couple times. Odin is heavily slept on. If you're sleeping on the Odin, I'd recommend go trying it out because it is an absolute beast. So a lot of that is pretty much what happens for the rest of the gameplay. I did watch the entire thing, and it kind of gets to a point where it's like there's really not much going on. He was initially going to go for this double nuke or even a triple nuke, which is definitely possible in this game. But once you get the objectives out of whack, it kind of is like your team isn't cooperating. So he continues to do that all the way through. Doesn't really get much more kills than that. And then he's like, whatever, just call in the nuke. So he calls in the nuke, and that's pretty much the end of the match. We've talked about that before when we broke down Team Memory's gameplay. It's like, well, why doesn't he call the nuke in right away? He had it. It's because they want to go for the second nuke and the third nuke. And people who get nukes regularly, they're good enough to actually do that on a regular basis. So they don't really care much that the match is winning or losing. It's really only about getting that nuke because there's that satisfaction you get from dropping one in. And once you get to that point, you understand why that's all these top tier players typically go for, is because 1, it's challenging, and 2, the satisfaction of dropping a nuke on an entire lobby is really nothing you can replicate in Call of Duty. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm gonna leave links to all of his stuff at the top of the description. So feel free to check it out. Let him know I sent you. If you did enjoy the video, let me know by hitting that like button. If you're brand new to the channel, haven't yet subscribed, definitely consider subscribing with notifications on. Quick shout out to my partners over at Gfuel, Respawn, and Control Freaks, which if you use code JGOD, you will get a discount. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.